Thanks for joining us for City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Councilmember Peter Butler. Today we're talking about both our Monday, August 4th and the Tuesday, August 19th City Council meetings. Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I thought you already had one of these shows under your belt, but apparently this is your first.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hope I don't screw up too much.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll do great. You were in here because we did post-election interviews. That's what I remember you sitting at this table from. Hard to believe, though. We're coming to the end of summer here. State Fair is starting here. Our first meeting of the month was actually held on a Monday because of Night to Unite, which is on the first Tuesday in August when we normally have a meeting. And I understand you did get out to some of the gatherings around town.
Yeah, it was really great being able to go out and see neighbors. So, there's over 100 of these events across the city. Each ward has a little over 20, and I got to about a dozen of them. And I got to ride with the fire department this year, which was great. I'm excited to ride with the police department next year. And, I know I had some neighbors asking, can you get to every party? And sadly, the answer is no. So, we got to one part of the ward this year. Next year, we're going to try to get to other parts. So if you didn't see me this year, hopefully we'll see you next year.
All right. Other than if we clone you, we can get you to more parties. Did you go with Rocky? Because I know Rocky was with the fire department. Or were you not in that fire?
I did not get to go with Rocky, but I did get to ride in one of the big trucks, and it was an experience.
Cool experience. Yeah, always fun to get out and mingle with people, meet people, kind of see what everybody does for their gathering. It's always a little bit different. So it was great for everybody participating. And again, if you didn't make it out this year, sign up your block party for next year.
Well, it's great too, because all of us, of course, went to different parts of the city, and obviously a lot of people were there to talk about law enforcement, but we got a lot of feedback about different issues in the city, and we were able to consolidate all that feedback to the city manager just to follow up on questions or concerns people had.
Yeah, which is great. So that's one opportunity. The other one we had was the Summer in the City meetings. We had 3 of those again this year, and those are always a good turnout, and people get a lot of answers to their questions there as well.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed those so much over the last few years, because before on City Council, when I was on Sustainability Commission, I'd usually work the table at least at one of those in the summer, and it's just great. You get to learn more about the city. You can ask questions to departments or your council members. I always love the part where you see someone who's clearly just taking an evening stroll and they go, what is all this? And it's great to really just bring folks in. And, we had a little bit of trouble with weather this year. I know we had one that needed to be rescheduled, but all in all, it was, I think, very successful across all 3. Yeah.
Well, it has been a wet summer, so only to have one rescheduled, probably not too bad at this point.
Right.
All right, so yes, as we said, we're wrapping up summer. The summer events are over. Summer concert series is wrapped up. The farmers market's still going on until October 8th, I believe. Wednesday the 8th is the last day, so you can still get out to the Coon Rapids Ice Center parking lot for that on Wednesdays from 3 to 6 p.m. All right, well, let's jump into a meeting here. We're going to start by talking about our Tuesday, August 19th meeting, which is our most recent. Council adopted an ordinance restricting parking on 89th Avenue.
Yeah, so, what had occurred is that this is a portion of 89th Avenue right by East River Road. And what had occurred is that there had been a concern given to our city engineer and the traffic review committee just about, vantage point and what are folks able to actually see when they're trying to make that turn onto East River Road. So there had been a proposed ordinance that you needed to be at least 225 feet west of that intersection in order to just give folks more visibility when they're trying to make that turn. When we talked about it yesterday, there had been questions about did residents had feedback, because when these type of changes occur, letters go out to residents. We got one letter in support of it and one letter against it. So we know that this is going to be a change for folks. Keep us posted if you're noticing issues with this, but this was something that staff and the council felt was the right decision for safety.
Okay, and a lot of these things are prompted by neighbors or residents. Like you said, they can go to our traffic review committee. They can submit something like, do you need a sign here? Or do you want requesting a sign here? Those are all reviewed by staff in this traffic review committee, and then a recommendation is made on kind of how to proceed.
Right, and they give us reports on what those decisions are, even if the recommendation is no. So I know I had constituents asking me about an intersection in my neighborhood, and we went through the process. They said they didn't feel an additional sign was warranted, but they had this great report that we were able to share out with residents to say this is the rationale for the city, at least at this time.
Yeah, all right. Moving forward, Council considered resolutions ordering a preparation of a feasibility report and plans for street reconstruction for 2026. Hard to believe. I feel like we're talking about street reconstruction next year. This year's hasn't even wrapped up yet, but you just kind of got to be forward-looking on this, correct?
Right. So every year the city probably looks at between 3 and 6 miles of street reconstruction, and it's unfortunately a really costly venture. It's one of the largest things that we think about as a budget every year. It's something where special assessments get assessed for the impacted neighborhoods. But a lot of this is a universal process for us. There's strategic plans over a 30-year plan of which neighborhoods get updates to it. Right now there's various parts of the city going through the 2025 reconstruction, and the list here is really just starting to tell us where we're going to go. And I think especially this year's report and the next few years' report, we're going into some of those Northdale and North Thompson neighborhoods where you have original water mains. You're going to have some pretty significant renovations and rejuvenations of those areas. So we want to make sure we do it right, because we do know that this is hopefully an investment that'll last, again, another 30 to 70 years.
Yeah, all right. So next year's project is approximately 4 miles of residential streets. There's about 22 different segments, but you kind of gave us an idea there. Anyone that is going to have street reconstruction does get notified by the city. I believe there's some meetings in the fall as well. So it's kind of a year period, and then you're communicated with during the process.
Right. So they start some of the meetings this fall to try to build that feasibility report to help answer residents' questions and to get that feedback. This is also where if there's any recommendations about perhaps adding sidewalks, they start getting that feedback and broadcasting that to residents now. And then what will occur is that we'll get into next year, usually I think around February, where we'll discuss the final plan. We'll agree on what the special assessment will be. We devote city funds to it as well. And then, of course, construction will start next summer.
Yeah, and then there's also the assessment hearing that people can come speak at, usually around February, I think, as well, February, March.
Yeah, I think it was February. I might be
wrong, I think
you're
that was what I was thinking as well. So, in any case, they are looking at doing more street reconstruction next year. Again, this is an ongoing annual thing, and then once they come through your neighborhood, usually you're good for 25, maybe 30 years.
Fingers crossed. I know we've had residents ask, like, this street maybe doesn't need the full repair right now. Why don't we defer this for another year or two? And the response that I would just give is, this is a 30-year plan. We're trying to be strategic so that we don't have to interrupt neighborhoods where they already have had street repairs. And so, there may or may not be a road which is in worse condition than others, but this is something where we try to be thoughtful to not disrupt neighbors summer over summer.
Right. And there is a plan, I know, as going out a couple of years, so if people are interested, like, is my neighborhood coming up, they can contact the city and they'll let them know, just if you want time to prepare, for the funding or the financial piece of it, I know is big for people.
And they've got that map online too. I know they would have it at summer in the city. My neighborhood's a part of that 5-year plan. I think 2029, I'd have to double check, but it is something where you can start planning ahead for it, because I know it's a major disruption for a lot of people.
All right. Moving forward, Council appointed election judges and approved their salaries. This is for the special election for the House District 34B. This was a seat represented by the late Melissa Hortman.
Yes, yeah. So we had a primary, only last week for August 12th. And so, the candidates are set for that. The special election is September 16th. For most residents in Coon Rapids, it's only 2 precincts. It's Precinct 4 and Precinct 5 down in Ward 5. So the southernmost portion of the city by Fridley and Blaine. So, if you happen to live there, make sure to cast your vote next month. And thank you to everybody who's volunteering their time to be election judges.
Yeah, I believe absentee voting opens for it on, if I'm correct, Tuesday the 2nd of September for absentee. So you can vote absentee if you're not able to make it to the poll on Election Day. Otherwise, polls are open in those precincts from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, September 16th. And we could also mention at this point, due to that, the council meeting for our second meeting in September will be held on Monday, September 15th.
Yes.
Because we can't have a meeting while the polls are open.
Right.
All right, moving forward on that actually is our last item we wanted to talk about on August 19th. Fairly short agenda. Also going back to our first meeting of the month, that was on Monday, August 4th again. We met a day early due to Night to Unite and you guys being able to get out to those neighborhood meetings. One of the first items we wanted to talk about there was the council approving a temporary on-sale strong beer and wine license. This is for the Coon Rapids North Star Lions. This is for the annual military softball tournament coming up in September.
Yeah, so this event's going to be over 3 days. It's September 12th, 13th, and 14th. It's going to be at Sand Creek Park. It's a great opportunity just to see neighbors, to support a good cause, and we were excited to continue to have this event here in Coon Rapids.
Yeah, it draws quite a crowd, I know, and they like the Sand Creek. I was out there a few times covering this event, and yeah, great turnout. So if you just want to watch some softball, come out for the weekend, like you said, September 12th through the 14th at Sand Creek Park.
Right.
All right. Council adopted a resolution accepting a crime victim services grant. This is done on an annual basis, correct?
Right. So the city's had this for almost 8 years. I think the first year we received it was in 2017. But this is a state grant that our city attorney gets just to help crime victims throughout the process. So that includes, any resources they might need because of anything they're feeling because of the crime that occurred to them, and it helps the office in general with additional resources. I think this year the grant amount was about $70,000, and again, knock on wood, we're hoping that we'll continue to qualify for the state grant year over year.
All right. Council also approved an agreement with Anoka Ramsey Community College. This is a security contract with our police department.
Yes. So, Anoka Ramsey, just right over by the border of Coon Rapids and Anoka, they contract with us for a lot of their public safety, especially for parking lots, buildings, things of that sort. It's an annual contract. I believe it needs to be renewed every August because the contract goes from August to August. And, there was a small 4% increase just because things are unfortunately getting expensive. But it's been a very reasonable contract for us, and it's been a great partnership, and we were enthusiastic to support the college for another year.
Okay, and I know they patrol the parking lot as kind of one of their big things, and maybe provide security escorts for students in need.
Yes.
At least they've done some of that in the past.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Council approved a request by Chanticleer Pizza Grill to reduce some of their false fire alarm fees. This was a lengthy discussion during this meeting on this, and I know it was a 5-2 vote. You were part of the 2. I guess talk to us about just kind of how this came about.
Yeah, so this was a bit of an unusual request. Chanticleer had reached out to us saying that they had trouble with their new security alarm system. So, most businesses have some sort of system that is supposed to automatically notify law enforcement, and so that can help bring police there. It can help with, a burglary or some other crime that may or may not be occurring. And late last year, they started having some trouble with false alarms. So I think the city manager told us there had been about 9 instances in late 2024 and about 20 since the new year this year. And so Chanticleer had been working with the city and working with their contractors to resolve these issues with their security system, and they were asking if there would potentially be a break in the fees. So what happens if you call the police by mistake? The first couple are sort of okay, maybe it was a butt dial, maybe this was a mistake. But I think it's after the third one, the city starts charging a fee. So it starts at a lower amount and it incrementally grows. And I think once you're at 10 or more, I think it's about $200, maybe a little more per instance.
It goes up as the more you get, right? And this is for alarms, right? Like false alarms.
Right. Any sort of false alarm or false police report. So again, like a butt dial, I think would qualify for it if you had a bunch of them, of course.
Do not program 911 into your.
But
don't have them on speed dial.
But so they had came to us and said, hey, would you be willing to cap our fees at one of the lower increments, just because this is something we're actively working with the city on. I think a lot of my colleagues who voted for it, they felt Chanticleer had been upfront about this. They really have been trying to work on this, and they felt since they had been in the community for over 30 years, this was a worthwhile break to give them. For myself and Councilman Geisler, who were the 2 who didn't vote for it, we didn't have any issues with the particular business, but we did feel this opens a precedent for businesses to come to ask for reduced fees, not just for police alarms, but a lot of other fees. And we felt this probably needed a little more time. And I'll note, too, the amount we reduced the fees by was about 43%. And I wasn't personally comfortable giving that much of a discount just during one meeting. So, it was a reasonable request. We had some disagreements about how to proceed with it. And, I think it is important for city council to have respectful disagreements. So I was, not the winner in that outcome, but it was a great discussion, and we continued our meeting with all the other items on our agenda.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too, they were still having issues because didn't they have one either that morning or the day before?
They did. We did have a little bit of a question of what our motion was going to do. So one of the managers of Chanticleer was there, and he had admitted that there was another false alarm the day of that meeting, August 4th. And so it was a bit of a discussion of, are we capping the first 20 that occurred prior to August 4th? Are we going to include this 21st instance that was on August 4th? And knock on wood, if there was another issue later, what would we assess the additional potential fees at? And, I think those are hard questions. And again, my opinion was those were hard questions we couldn't answer at that time. But we made a decision, and we'll see how the rest of the year goes.
All right. So the decision was it was approved again on a 5-2 vote, capping the fees at $2,015.
Correct.
All right. Council approved a contract agreement. This is for a technology upgrade to our city council chambers. Well, in need. It's been many years. We still have some, I don't want to say the old VGA plugs to plug into your computer, which you don't have that anymore to connect computers. So quite a few things happening there.
Yeah, and I think it's just such a great investment with it. I know from watching the meetings virtually, we have a great system, but I know that this can offer some additional improvements with closed captioning, sound quality.
Yeah.
It's going to help with some of the sound quality for people who are in the chambers just watching the meeting themselves. And it'll also help with some of the dimensions for screens for us. So right now at the day, as we have screens that show the PowerPoint presentations when staff are presenting different reports to us, and sometimes it's a little disorienting to be looking at your laptop, this screen down here, whoever the speaker is, and we know that some of the additional changes might just change the orientation of how we're viewing those type of reports.
Yeah, so then better monitors for the audience to view what's going on too and all that. So this is all supposed to happen by the end of the year, hopefully, so we'll be starting the new year on a note. I should mention while we're doing this show that unfortunately we had a transmission issue, which is not related to this technology chamber upgrade for our August 19th meeting. So unfortunately, we don't have a video copy of it because it did not transmit to record. So apologize for that, but they'll have to watch our council comments thing here to get an update on the meeting, or that's kind of the way at this point. We're kind of recapping things right now. So in any case, this also is for the meetings, but staff also uses this. It's also a training room and facility, so it gets used outside of just the council and planning commission meetings.
Right.
So they'll be getting an upgrade of the technology there to go to Teams and some of that other equipment. All right, and that was basically what we wanted to talk about from our meeting back on Monday, August 4th. What do I want to talk to you about next? Let's talk about the budget.
Let's do it.
Because that just came up this month. You've had 2 work sessions now on the preliminary 2026 budget. This ball gets rolling a couple months ago by staff, and the city manager then presents his proposed budget to the council around August 1st.
Right. So what's occurred for us this month is staff come to us with sort of what they think the preliminary levy should be. And as a reminder to folks watching, the preliminary levy is set in September. It can't be any higher than that. It can be adjusted lower, and the city will vote on the final budget in December. So, and this was all public documents as part of the work session. The staff came with a 7.62% preliminary levy. I'm sure there are folks who are frustrated that it's higher like that. I know that it wasn't something we were thrilled to see as council members, but through our 2 work sessions so far, I think we're comfortable that that's going to be at least our starting point, and we'll continue to have discussions throughout the fall about whether or not that can be adjusted to a lower number between now and December.
Okay, and it's a fairly, from what I understand, basic budget. It's not a lot of additional requests and all that, and you're still sitting at the 7% and that's partly because about 80% of our costs are people. Correct?
Yeah, I think it's always a little challenging with budgets because, like you said, about 80% of city staff, 80% of the city budget is people. People cost quite a bit. It's a big expense for not just Coon Rapids, but any city. We're going through collective bargaining right now with a lot of our law enforcement unions, so police and fire, and also public works. So it's figuring out how can we keep our employees happy so that we can keep delivering good services for the city. I think what always gets tough this time of year is nobody likes to see their bill go up. But at the same time, we want to make sure when you call 911, people get there. When you turn on the faucet, it's clean, safe water. When we're doing street reconstruction, not only is it a good quality, but it's something where hopefully we won't have to bother you again for several years. And when you see what our preliminary levy looks like compared to neighboring cities or the county, I think you'll unfortunately see we're probably on a tad of the lower end, and this is just a challenge of the increasing cost of construction, the cost of labor, and I'll be frank, I think next year will also be a challenge, and it'll be something that we continue to look at over the next several years.
Yeah, and there's been just an upward pressure also on police wages in the last several years, so that's also playing into some of it as well, I know. So as you mentioned, the preliminary levy will be set by the council at, I don't know if it's planned yet for the first meeting or the second meeting in September, when they'll actually set the preliminary levy. It can't be raised after that point, but it can be lowered before the final adoption in December, at which time there's also a public hearing that people can speak at. And of course, you always can feel free to reach out to your council members before then to give feedback and ask questions.
Right, and you know, just the other reminder too for folks, like about a third of your bill is from the city, about a third of it comes from the county, and then the other third is the school board along with a lot of other smaller entities like Met Council. So, you know, when you start getting those truth and taxation notices after preliminary levies are published, you know, be sure to look at that bill. There'll be a line item of what's the city, what's the county, and you know, if you need help with that, we can talk through it and get you to the right staff, whether at the city or the county, about that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it a little last year, but the more shocking part is probably the county in ways, because the county held their levy for a couple of years there at 0% increase.
Yes.
And they've now had to kind of raise it a good amount. I think it was 14% or something last year, and I know they're looking at some other higher increases at least this year and maybe the next year or two to kind of get back on track. So again, like you said, the city tax is just one piece of the pie. There's also the school district and then the county.
Well, and that's something we try to track too. You know, we do know the county's going to have trouble over the next few years. We are trying to keep our levy reasonable, not just to serve the needs of what our city needs to keep functioning, but knowing that there are other pressures out there. Like we can't control what the county levy is. We can't control that homeowners insurance rates may be going up as well. But we try to do our part to keep costs down, knowing that those other costs are unfortunately out there right now.
All right. Again, people will get like you said, after the preliminary tax levy is adopted by all the entities, the statement will come out sometime it's usually around Thanksgiving or a little before, with what your proposed bill will be for taxes payable in 2026.
Right.
All right. This is your first show.
Yes.
I want to talk about that too, which means we're sitting here, we're doing this on August 20th, which means you've almost been in this council position, going on almost 8 months?
Right.
Or almost total of 8 months. How have things been going so far?
Oh, it's been awesome so far. Like, you know, I was excited last year campaigning and getting to talk to neighbors and hear about what they think is going well in the city and where they think maybe a little change would be helpful. And it's been great to learn so much from the staff. It's been great to have the patience of my colleagues as I'm getting up to speed on some of the processes. And I've just loved being able to go to all of the different city events and to start recognizing folks. Like you mentioned Night to Unite earlier, and I went to some parties that I went to last year while campaigning, and I was pleasantly surprised for people to go like, oh, look, it's Peter. Like, how you been? I have something to tell you about my water bill. And, you know, we started engaging with it. So, you know, I was very thrilled to have won the election last year, and I knew that there would be a learning curve, but everyone's just been so thoughtful and helpful walking me through it, and I'm excited for the remaining 3.5 years of the term.
All right. So the phone calls and the emails have been okay so far?
Oh, I've loved that. Like, you know, in my day job, I get professionally yelled at by legislators all the time. And so, you know, when I get an email saying, hey, I have this question when you have time, that's totally fine. I want to hear those concerns. You know, I've had questions about water bills, questions about fireworks, questions about safety or road construction. And, you know, if you do have a question about anything, even if I don't know the answer today, we will get you to the staff who need help with it. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing council members are supposed to do. We're supposed to be customer service reps to help get you the information you need if you're having trouble, whether with the city or, frankly, even if you're having trouble with the county. We can try our best with city staff to try to figure something out.
All right. Well, it's been great having you, and appreciate you coming in to do the show today. As we said, we're almost to state fair time here. It starts tomorrow. Labor Day is going to be here, back to school.
I know.
I'm sure all the parents are out there, yay. The kids are maybe boo. But our next big event here in the city is coming up in September, the middle of September. The Coon Rapids Pet Fair is coming back, and it's actually in a new location this year. I don't know if you know that, but it's going to be held at the Civic Center.
Oh, wow.
Instead of Riverview Park.
Yeah.
So that is a change. So come to City Hall for this. I want to look at the date again. Saturday, September 20th is the actual date. It goes from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Again, new location at the Civic Center. There's going to be the vendors, I believe, are going to be inside, and then they're going to do some of the other stuff on the outside. of the lawn. But this is kind of a sort of a backup plan because we did get rained out last year.
Yes.
Unfortunately, very early on, and that hasn't happened, I don't believe, any times. It usually cleared up if there was a threat of rain and it went on. So come on out. It's a fun event for pets. Bring your pets on a leash, friendly pets. And it's just a day of fun. There's a dog pick a toy game, pup cups, crazy hair for kids, face painting, booths again, Rocky's pet walk, a costume contest, chalk art, kids games, a cakewalk, dogs with jobs. Guess I'll be interested to see what that is all about. And then food for purchase from the Coon Rapids Central Little League. And there'll be an Egg Roll Queen food truck here as well.
Woohoo.
So again, Saturday, September 20th from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. That's the Coon Rapids Pet Fair right here at the Civic Center in the building adjacent to where we're doing this broadcast. This will be coming out, I don't know if the cover looks exactly like this. I don't know if this is my most updated printed copy, but something like this will be coming out in the mail in early September. Right on the front page, there's info on the pet fair. And a lot more information. 610 finally fully funded.
Yes.
The 610 East River Road interchange.
Yes. We were really relieved that the legislature was able to help us get that remaining money. So for folks who maybe aren't as familiar, we've been trying to get a westbound interchange for Highway 610 just to help us get law enforcement on and off and EMS services. And this has been a slog. Like the city's worked on it for years. We secured city funding, we secured federal funding, and we were looking for that last, I think it was about $10 million that we had been asking the state for several years. And so it was included in the Transportation Omnibus Bill this year. We're very grateful to all of our state elected officials who worked very hard to get that included. And you know, I'm excited for that work to begin. It's hopefully going to begin as early as next year. There's always a bit of a discussion of when are we going to start, which funds do we use first to start spending down for this project. And I know that Tim Himmer, our Director of Public Works, is working very hard to build that plan, working with the state partners right now to get that slotted for next year. Yeah, so as early as fall of 26 is what I'm hearing, but again, not concrete. And that, I imagine, will take a little bit of time, at least 1 or 2 construction years probably to complete. Yeah, it's a complicated one, and I know that there are residences involved that we need to work with as well. Because there's property acquisition too, right? Yes, so this is a wonderful moment where we finally have secured the funding, and now we get to the real part of the project. Yes, and one day, if you forget and get on 10 going, 610 going that, you won't have to like get to Brooklyn Park to turn around. You can get off at East River Road. Yes. It'll be nice. Yes. All right. So again, watch for the newsletter. That'll be coming out in your mailbox probably the first weekend of September. So look for it. It has all of that plus all the other upcoming events. Rocky's Pumpkin Patch is always a big fun time at Sand Creek Park in October. And then the tree lighting ceremony in December. So all that information is included along with a lot more. Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add before we go? I do got to ask you, Steve, what's your favorite state fair food? What's my favorite? I go with the Pronto Pup. Okay. All. Do you have anything exotic? I like the cheese curd tacos. Okay. They're not good for you. I'm not going to pretend they are, but there's something fascinating about just like all the different combos. Like they have one where they like mix raspberry jam. There's like one with buffalo chicken in it. My wife gets annoyed how much I'm excited for those every year. So it's a little more than the basic cheese curd. It's got other stuff to it. Oh, I eat those too. Don't worry. I get very full at the fair. I'm ready to go. But well, it's here. You can do it, and it sounds like it's actually going to be fairly cool compared to standards, at least for the first weekend. I know. Yeah, my wife and I are hoping to go on Sunday, and I think I saw this morning it's supposed to be like 67, and I don't think I believe that, but we'll see what happens. Like, is it really August? But right. Yeah. Enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah. All right. We'll have fun doing that, and everyone else going out there. We appreciate everyone tuning in for City Council comments, and we'll see you back here again after our 2 meetings in September.